Hey, dino lovers, do you think dinosaurs were the most epic creatures to ever live? Well, if you do, then you're definitely not alone. After all, who wouldn't want to be an enormous fire-breathing reptile that stomped around on two legs and had huge, sharp teeth to chomp its prey into pieces? But did you know that the reign of the dinosaurs wasn't the only time period that this planet had some really scary monsters living on it? There were other animals that roamed the Earth during different time periods that were just as frightening, but they weren't technically dinosaurs. And we're going to tell you all about one of those animals today. So get ready to learn something new about a beast that lived millions of years ago. Because today we'll be answering the question, what was a pterosaur? To answer this question, let's jump right into the facts. Fact number 1. The pterosaur, more than just a flying dinosaur. Think dinosaurs ruled only the land? Think again. The skies of prehistory were dominated by another terrifying creature, the pterosaur. And it's not what you think. First things first, pterosaurs were not dinosaurs. They were flying reptiles that lived alongside them. Okay, so they might have been closely related to dinosaurs, but they weren't technically dinosaurs themselves. Fact number 2. From the size of a sparrow to giants with wingspans bigger than a bus, these creatures ruled the ancient skies for over 150 million years. Okay, so pterosaurs were related to dinosaurs, but they were definitely much cooler than dinosaurs because they were able to fly. And the really cool thing about pterosaurs is that there were lots of different types of them, all with different shapes, sizes, and abilities. The smallest species, like the one shown here, were roughly the size of a sparrow, while the biggest ones, like the one shown here, had wingspans that could reach over 36 feet, which is about the length of a double-decker bus. As a reminder, the reason why dinosaurs never evolved to be able to fly is because they had bones made of calcium phosphate, which is a very dense substance that would have made it almost impossible for them to take off and stay airborne. But since pterosaurs were more closely related to marine reptiles, their bodies were better suited for life in the sky. And it turns out that there were actually 4 main groups of pterosaurs. The first group were called Anurognathidae, and they lived from the late Triassic to the late Jurassic. These guys were mostly small, with a maximum wingspan of about 10 feet. And their name actually means humped jaw, which is pretty fitting since they had a bony hump on their upper jaw that looked kind of like a beak. Another interesting fact about anurognathids is that they were among the first vertebrates to evolve the ability to fly. Next up are the Ceratopsidae, and they lived during the same time period as the Anurognathidae, from the late Triassic to the late Jurassic. These guys were a bit larger, with a maximum wingspan of about 18 feet. And their name comes from the Greek word sarax, which means rib, because their ribs were unusually thick and robust. Moving on to the third group, we have the Rhamphorhynchoidea, who lived during the Jurassic and Cretaceous periods. These guys were medium-sized, with a maximum wingspan of about 26 feet. And their name comes from the Greek words rhampha, meaning nose, and rhynchos, meaning beak, because they had a long, pointed nose that kind of looked like a beak. Finally, we have the fourth and largest group of pterosaurs, the Agdarchoidea, who lived from the late Jurassic to the end of the Cretaceous period. These guys were huge, with some species like Quetzalcoatlus having a wingspan of over 36 feet. Their name comes from the Greek word agdarcho, which means demon, because they were pretty scary-looking creatures with huge, sharp teeth and claws. Fact number 3, some had long jaws filled with sharp teeth, perfect for snatching fish. Others, like Quetzalcoatlus, were so massive they could look a giraffe in the eye before taking off into the air. As I'm sure you can imagine, there were many different kinds of plants and animals living during the age of the dinosaurs. And with so many different kinds of creatures living on Earth at the same time, it stands to reason that not all of them were meat eaters. In fact, there were some pterosaurs that ate nothing but plants, but most of them preferred to eat meat, and even though some of them only ate small animals like rodents, others went after much larger prey. For example, as I mentioned before, there was one type of Pterosaur known as Quetzalcoatlus, and Quetzalcoatlus was one of the largest flying animals that ever lived. With a wingspan of up to 36 feet and a body length of up to 33 feet, it could carry a load of almost 900 pounds. This means that it could easily pick up and carry away a full-grown human being without even breaking a sweat. But despite its massive size, scientists believed that it was a relatively slow-moving animal that spent most of its time soaring around on thermals, riding the currents of air just like a condor or a vulture. But when it came to hunting, speed wasn't everything. Its huge size alone was enough to scare the pants off its prey, allowing the pterosaur to snatch them up with its massive beak before they could even react. And its long neck also allowed it to see for miles in any direction, giving it plenty of time to spot potential prey from far away. Plus, its massive wingspan meant that it had a lot of surface area to catch the wind, which gave it plenty of lift and allowed it to stay in the air for hours on end. So if you were a small animal living in the age of the dinosaurs and you saw a giant pterosaur swooping down towards you, your best bet would probably be to run away fast because a fight wouldn't stand a chance. Fact number 4. But how did they fly? Scientists believe they used strong, leathery wings supported by a single elongated finger. They could soar for hours, gliding over oceans and hunting from above. True masters of the prehistoric skies. So how exactly did these prehistoric flying reptiles conquer the skies and become the dominant predators of the day? Well, it all had to do with their wings. Unlike birds, which have feathers that are attached to their arms, the wings of pterosaurs were made of a thin membrane that stretched from their body to a single elongated finger. The rest of their hand was short and stubby and looked a lot like the hand of a bird. This meant that pterosaurs couldn't grip branches or hold onto things with their hands, but it made them incredibly good at flying. In fact, their wing structure was so unique that it was unlike anything that had ever flown before or has flown since. But it seems to have worked pretty well for them. The way these guys flew was basically by flapping their big old hands really hard and then riding the currents of air to keep them aloft. Of course, they needed to flap their wings periodically to keep themselves from falling, but thanks to their huge wings, they didn't need to flap them all that often. In fact, scientists think that some species of pterosaurs could literally stay in the air for days at a time without landing. Talk about endurance. And since they were so good at flying, they were able to hunt from above, getting the drop on their prey and swooping down to snatch them up before they even knew what hit them. This gave them access to a food source that no other predator could touch, making them the true masters of the prehistoric skies. Pterosaurs may have been more than just flying dinosaurs, but they were still pretty scary. Just imagine seeing a giant monster with a huge beak and claws swoop down from the sky towards you. You might be wondering why humans never evolved to be able to fly. Well, it's because our bones are too heavy. But if we had evolved to be able to fly, would you rather be hunted by a T-Rex on the ground or a giant pterosaur from above? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed learning all these awesome facts about the pterosaur, be sure to hit the like button and share this video with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe for more fun and educational videos about prehistoric creatures. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.